ain't going back. Not gonna buy into all that. Hey, hey, ain't gonna hide. Gonna let all the fears slide. Got mother nature is on my side. Got all of the loving.
Hello and welcome, Campbell here with Lorenzo as usual. And so we're going to have a bit of a chat about who Lorenzo is. How did Lorenzo turn into Lorenzo? So welcome, Lorenzo. You're in the hot seat today.
Yes, yes. What is Lorenzo's new now? How did we get to my new now? How did I get here? It's been an interesting journey. Perhaps you want to start with a question, or I can just give a bit of a background.
I got questions, man. I've got questions. So I've just written 5 down, so we'll go through these. So the first one is, how did you see the world when you were young, when you were growing up?
When I was young, I saw the world as shit. I didn't like anything that I saw, to be honest. I mean, I like flowers. I like playing outside. I like doing what kids usually did, riding my bike, enjoying being alive, sunshine. But everything else, I've been sitting over the last few days, even before we started recording this, going like, how did I get to where I am? What's wrong? I always thought there was something wrong with me. But I realized that I didn't like the world. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like how I was taught. I didn't like what my parents were telling me. I didn't like most of the children that I even interacted with. I didn't like how, to me, it seemed people weren't as loving as they should be. And the world wasn't as loving as it should be. And we weren't encouraged to be as wonderful as we could be. And I will include myself in that. And I'm not like to say I was above everything and so I was great and everything was horrible. And then woe is me, I was a victim, because in the midst of all that, I became the reflection of this shitty world that was being presented to me. Like, I started acting not so nice. I was overweight when I was little. I ate too much to protect myself. I was always hiding, watched a lot of TV, hid behind comics and books and things. And simply put, I was in a lot of pain, or my heart seemed to be in a lot of pain, because I didn't really like what was being reflected to me. I didn't like my relatives. My mother was always complaining about somebody or something or other. Someone was always doing her wrong. And I grew up listening to that song and agreeing with it for a while, going, oh, poor mom, poor mom, poor mom, until, one day I realized she's a little crazy and she just sees the world as that she's always being attacked and people are always putting her down and she can never do any wrong. But by that point, let's say when I was 14 or 15, I had already put that inside myself. And in many ways, I was closer to my mom than my father growing up. And so I picked up that perspective of the world is doing me wrong, right? The world has treated me wrong and I deserve this or I deserve more. And I can't believe everyone's being so horrible to me, when in fact, I was treating the world the way it was treating me. So I was also treating the world horribly. I was treating my body not so well by overeating and eating a lot of garbage growing up. I became a little selfish in my perspective, in wanting only to get what I wanted and not really caring. I closed my heart to my natural empathic abilities. I think we all have them, but, it was just too painful at the time, I thought. So, I hid and I stayed away from school as much as I could. And I got lost in my own fantasy world of comics and growing up and, imagining what it was like to be free of that life and to travel to the stars or to travel to the jungles. You get lost in the movies of the time or the TV shows at the time. And basically, I was a confused little boy.
Weren't we all girls? All right. So just as a segue on that answer, we've heard a bit about your parents. How do you think your parents, directed your life in a positive way? Like, what did you learn from them, whether it was positive or negative, that has turned out to be a positive in your life?
Well, yeah, they were both, I was never physically beaten or anything like that. My father wasn't a very strong man as far as being a good male role model, but he worked all the time. He paid all the bills. I was never hungry. I was never wanting for anything. I never had a lack in my life. He was very loving in his way. He did love his children as best he could. And even to this day, I know he still loves us, even though, the negative side is he still thinks he knows better for how your life should be instead of how you want to live your life. Like, he can't imagine something beyond what he's chosen for himself. My mother always wanted to be free, and this is how she helped me, in that she allowed me to stay away from school pretty much as I wanted to, as long as I got good grades, which I found easy. She always wanted to take our yearly trips, where you and I are going. So I've been to Florida many times because my mother wanted to escape the world. She didn't like her life. She didn't like anything. So she, even when we couldn't afford it for many years running, she would always insist that we had our 3 weeks away with the family. We'd always drive into the States or do some camping or rent a cottage in some of the beaches in northern or eastern Ontario. And so she gave me the feeling of needing to be free. I have to say, to this day, she didn't insist that I had to go to school simply because it was there. She didn't insist that I had to do something if I didn't really want to. I mean, for her, education and money was important. My father, too. Most people, I would say, probably reflect that. But what they both gave me was my father, a dedicated, loving man, and my mother, damn the torpedoes. She didn't care if we went into debt at the time. She didn't care if we could afford it. She didn't care, the costs or anything like that. She just at all costs wanted to be free. So that's what and the positive things they passed along to me, along with all the craziness.
Go. Nice. Freedom. All right. So tell us about an event when you were growing up that changed your view of the world.
Well, the major one was finding out my parents were lying to me, my mother. All right. I might have shared this in another video, but, for as long as I could remember, I was a young boy. And of course, I still remember my first kiss when I was 7 or 8 or something like that. The lady's name was Ellen. Leaving on a Jet Plane was playing. I was at her house. It was a very innocent kiss on my cheek. But to this day, she had blonde curls and long hair. So to this day, that moment in time being up in her room, I don't remember what I was doing when I was 8 or 9 or 10. We were just, doing what little kids do. It stuck with me. So it stuck with me that, of course, I wanted to have relationships with, ladies at the time. I wanted to have that feeling. My mother wasn't very, I had 3 sisters, but we were always at loggerheads and fighting and at odds, completely yelling and screaming at each other growing up, fighting for whatever attention kids fight for, or whatever. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. So, there was always a bit of a battle for, who gets to buy what and who gets to see what. So the feeling of having a loving relationship with a lady was something that was always close to my heart. So what changed my reality was my mother telling me that I could start dating when I was 16, forever and ever. You can date when you're 16, you can date. And when I turned 16, she said, no, I've always said 18. Right.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because she was a very clutchy lady. Still to this day, I think she wanted to keep me too close. She's a very smothering mother, in at that point. So I realized that at that point she was, let's just say, not telling the truth all the time. So at that point, I remember telling myself, wait a minute, what I've been told from my parents and my mother and from everybody was probably not true, wasn't accurate. And so that changed my life to the point where I just decided I'm not going to listen to anyone but myself, because only I know what's best for me. And it's been a good thing and a bad thing. To this day, I have trouble listening to other people when they give me advice. And I know I get good advice, and I know I can be stupid with my own advice. I've given myself all kinds of bad advice, over the years when I've thought I've been right, when I've seen, as I've been looking back for a few, even the last few days to see how I've been wrong, because you and I have chatted a lot about the event we have coming up, and mostly, I was wrong. We've done that video together. So I've had to see, the hard part is seeing how I've been wrong in so many ways so that I can learn to be right, to grow, to get bigger, to get, beyond that. So that, I would say, was one of the pivotal moments of my life, because I could still remember standing in my kitchen of my childhood home, getting very angry with my mother, going downstairs. And I remember kind of destroying everything in my room at the time. I had models, I was making flying things, and I went into my room and I trashed it. And so that, yeah, of course I was very angry with myself later because I spent years making these models. It was a kind of a stupid thing to do, but that was the moment when things pretty much changed for me.
Nice. All right. Well, I was going to ask what woke you up, but I guess I don't need to ask that at the moment. All right. So at this stage in your life, bit of a different question. What is your concept of God?
Interesting question. In that, I was raised Jewish. I don't believe in any organized religion. I had the whole concept of a big bearded fellow sitting, in the sky. I mean, when I went to religious school, though, I was disabused of the beautifulness of any religion by seeing the people and how they were all hypocrites, pretending to be nice and not, and the monetary considerations of the religion, which I always thought was stupid. But yet, you know, I would still sit in my bed at night and have the conversation with spirit, have a conversation with God saying, you know, what's going on? Please help me. You know, I love you. Do you love me? How can we have a better life? Why is everything so horrible? You know, at the time, you know, kind of a lot of people still blame. I go like, the world is so, if you're such a loving personage, you know, why is everything so shitty? You know, why are there wars going on? Why are people dying? You know, why do I get stressed all the time? Why is my mother crying about money a lot? Why is my father working too much and he's never home? And the like, you know, why are people in our neighbors not so nice? Why are, you know, and I saw all kinds of unfriendly behavior, you know, putting it very bluntly. And what it's come down to now, seeing that we have free will, is I strongly have come to the conclusion that if we can do anything and we can be anything and we can grow into any kind of being that we wish to be, the fact that you're given this gift of unlimited potential, and I do feel we have the gift of unlimited potential. I would say what a good parent would do would be to leave you alone and let you decide and to explore and to be how you need to be. Right. So if you can do anything, that to me is the beauty of spirit or God or us being born here, is we're given that spark. We can create anything we need to create, and we are trusted enough to be left alone. Right. You know, we're all given our hearts, and our hearts are always talking to us and telling you how to be a good person. You know, I can strongly feel your hearts don't lie to you. They're always being honest. And the challenge, my challenge, and I figure everyone's challenge, and the challenge of what you and I have been offering, is for people to get back to themselves, especially myself, and figure out how to listen to your heart so that you can be honest with what you need to do, how you've been not so nice, how you've been nice, and to give yourself more of that. And so that's my strong feeling about spirit, as best as I have come up with it to this point in my life.
Nice. All right. So now we are doing an event in Florida coming up in October. Obviously, all links below, guys. So, what is your what's the main thing you want to teach the world? What's the main thing you want to get out there to people to leave as a mark? Like, what do you know? How do you want to change people in the world? What's
It's interesting because, you know, I've come to see you can't change anybody. You know, you can't even change the world. You can't really do anything for anybody other than to be an example. You know, that old quote is for, you know, evil take over the world, good people do nothing. And it's a real interesting conundrum, we'll say, because I know you can't change anybody, but I also know I want to share how I've become a better person, because a lot of people in my life, you know, whether I've met them personally or I've watched them on TV or read about them, have been influences of the positive and negative kind, because I've been lost. I've been without direction. I've been unsure of where to go next in my life over the years. And in those moments, something would come up, whether it would be somebody that would give me some advice, or I would see, you know, somebody that was living a certain way, or a book, or, you know, even a movie. You know, some of them have been positive, I guess, you know, positive role models in a way. So what I'm hoping and sharing and looking to do, quite simply, is to allow people to be honest with themselves. Let's put it that way. That's the biggest thing. You know, like I've been sitting here for a few days, really sitting with this, knowing that you and I were going to talk about this today. And I didn't want to come out like, I'm great and I'm going to teach everyone everything and look how fantastic I am. When I realized the biggest challenge of my life is seeing how horrible I've been, how bad I've been, how, like if we have unlimited potential, I think everyone puts a ceiling on their life, whether it's a monetary ceiling or what they can create, or what they're allowing into their life, as far as having wonderful relationships, as far as having wonderful things, as far as having wonderful times, wonderful people, enough abundance, and you know, the perspectives. And how and why have I stopped that? Like, why have I limited myself? And I really have, like even, you know, yesterday I'm going like, why am I still arguing with some of my friends? Why am I still getting angry with my wife over certain things? Why are some people, when they lie to me, pissing me off still? You know, and all of these little things. And really, it's a matter of, and to give you the short answer, is to share with people how they should and can trust themselves. I think that's a big one. I think it's to trust themselves, and to find out, more importantly, how they haven't. I mean, it's not so much I trust myself and I'm fantastic, so, you know, I'm going to be great. You really or I really had to see how I've limited myself, right? How I've been not nice to myself, how I've had horrible thoughts, how I've judged other people, how I've wanted to tell other people what to do, how I've blamed, how I've shamed, how I felt guilt, like all the nasty things that we all share, I think, in this crazy world. Like we talk with Howdy, and it's true. It is a really shitty world in so many ways. I mean, you and I know that kids can be mean, parents can be limiting. The monetary system is very slavely focused. All the major religions have a God that says you're going to be, you're free, but we're going to punish the shit out of you if you don't listen to me, right? Which is obviously not a loving God. I don't know where people came up with that idea as a good balance between you have free will, but if you don't listen to me, you're gonna rot in hell or burn in hell forever. Doesn't sound like free will, right? It sounds like something else. So to put all that together and to realize how I accepted this crazy world as me, right? How I accepted the bad parts, how I listened to my mother when she said, you're fantastic, you can do anything you want, or they're treating you horrible, so you're a victim, or you need money to be happy and successful, and if you don't have that, you'll be poor and in the gutter. Like, my mother was raised with not a lot of money, World War II and all that. So like all of these things, I get to sort out. We talked about what we're going to do with the event and helping people to recapitulate and to see their life. So you need to see, I think, where you're limiting yourself. That's what I'd like to share. And that's really the bottom line, where you are limiting yourself so you can stop limiting yourself.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, we've said it, a lot of times, right? It's all your fault. And that's good and bad. But the thing is, we take on all these concepts, these belief systems, and they're not necessarily true or based on anything. And then they kind of rule our lives. And most of the time, 99% of the time, it's in a limiting way. Like it's that voice that makes us talk ourselves out of it, right?
It's just crazy. Like I know, Campbell, you get what you give. Like, and I did a bit of a recapitulation before we came in here. And I've had some crazy jobs, like after being a stockbroker and stopping. I traveled the world for about 30 years. I was a matchmaker for a while. I did In Love Unlimited. You get what you give. I made some magnificent books with a friend of mine on how to be free, how to be alive. I've done a couple of public or community newspapers to kind of share the best of what's going on in the world. One of it was BS, the best of, charities, and how McDonald's is giving money and how people are great because they're helping people. And that left a vomitous taste in my mouth. So I quit that after a few years. I started my own paper, and, with not by myself, they have hundreds of people helping. Obviously I was just basically the general manager, kind of directing things. And then eventually, now 12, 14 years later, you realize you can't really help anybody. That's the weirdness in this. You can't change anybody. You can't expect anything from anybody. You can't do anything for anybody. You can just live your best life. And, I mean, on the other hand, like I reached out to you, and here we are 100 videos later doing this, right? I've reached out to other people too. I picked up the newspaper and said, I want to do this. So I still made these choices, and that's the weirdness in this world, is it's all up to you. You have to make these choices, and yet you can't expect anything from anybody.
Oh, yeah. It's the dichotomy, isn't it? I look at it like you can open a doorway, right? And you can leave a crack and let people get a glimpse of what's there. And the ones that are interested will get closer and look. And hopefully you can give people some practical things to change your life. Like when you can open a door and people can look in and want to go in, but you can't make them go in. And then, there might be a ladder in there. You can say, look at that ladder. And they might be interested or not. And then you can climb the ladder and go, look, you can do this. But it's up to the person to change themselves. We can't drag people anywhere. So it's interesting. I think we've got to be the example, right? I think we can affect things, but we can't necessarily change things. So it's more of an energy vibration thing, right? You can be the person you want to be and show that, and hopefully you'll reach people that are looking for that answer, because that's all we can really do, right? Is put out our answers from our perspective, and if people are looking for those answers, hopefully we can pass them on.
Yeah. You also, one thing I've learned is you don't know what anyone needs. You can't say what's better for someone. You can't say what's worse for someone. I mean, this is where I disagree with a lot of the people you and I have chatted with, in that, maybe someone needs a horrible experience to grow up. And I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but why are they there? Why did they have that horrible experience? You know, some people say we're tricked into this life. Sure. Some people say we decide to come back into this life. It doesn't really matter whether you're tricked or you're not. You're here and you're alive. You know that. Right? You know, if you're sitting here and you're talking with someone or someone's talking to you, they're alive. And so what did they do with the experiences they've had? Right. So they've had, let's say, a horrible experience. I've had tons of them. You grow from it. You get better from it. You can forgive from it, or you become, you know, a bitter old man or a bitter old woman and, you know, blame and shame and feel, you know, this is a horrible world, nothing you can do. I'm just going to go. Like, everyone wants to, I think, get a cottage in the forest and be left alone, right? I mean, maybe everyone's had that feeling, get away from humanity, go hide, have enough money and food. So you don't have to talk to anyone. You don't have to deal with anyone. You don't have to do anything. But if that was the case, you know, why even come here?
Yeah.
Do you want to come here to hide from everybody? I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe some people do. Maybe that's their thing, is they've come here to figure out a way to get away from here so they never have to come back here. Maybe that's their thing in life. But others, you've chosen and I've chosen, we seem to get in the mess and the mix and the crap of it for, you know, maybe we've got a duty. Maybe we both, maybe I could talk about, maybe I've been horrible in other lives and I took too much and now I have to give more. You know, maybe I was mean 100 lives ago. So now I have to see how to be more loving, you know, really. And it's still hard for me to hear how I'm not good enough, right? It's still hard for me to hear how I have to do better. It's still hard to hear how I have to be more loving. On the other hand, you know, in my life right now, like I'm 60, I just turned 60 recently, and I'm super energetic. I'm super happy. Yeah, I'm super running around. There's nothing wrong with me. You know, I met someone 30 years ago, like coming full circle. It's really interesting when, you know, I'll share a little story, is when I first went to live in BC in the mountains, and I was living on an intentional community. I thought hippies were the answer at the time. You know, they weren't. And I still remember a whole bunch of lazy hippies, you know, and they were building a new house, or they like this kind of community center, a dojo kind of thing. I forget what the name they called it, but a meeting house. And the guy that worked the most was a man named Vlad. He's still stuck with me. And at the time, you know, I was 35 and he was 60, right? And he was in great shape, you know, working all day, very strong. He kind of became a father figure to me. He was Polish. My background was Polish. It was really interesting. So we became friends at the time. And I remember looking at him going, wow, look at this guy working all day long, you know, lots of muscles, very strong, very wiry, you know, not a big fellow. Whereas the hippies would work for an hour and a half and then sit back, smoke their joints and be lazy and go, oh my goodness, that's so hard. So it's really interesting how I've kind of come full circle in my life to realize, you know, you get, you know, and I thought at the time I didn't have any money. I had $5 in my pocket. I was left on the mountains in a tent. I remember, just because I was being an asshole with some friends. They go, we can't be with you anymore. You can't be with us anymore. Go stay here in this community. Let's see what, you know, we yelled at each other, and I was left with a tent and a cooler full of dried fruits and nuts to be alive with. I still remember at the time. And I said, oh, but you know, I had some good dreams. I wrote my first poem. I listened to nature. I learned how to do yoga at the time and stretch my body. You know, I got to meet this fellow. I met I met another fellow that did a lot of music. And so my heart really, you know, I had to detox from having been raised in a big city and being, you know, kind of a mess as far as not understanding what's going on. So being alone at this time for 3 or 4 or 5 months really allowed my heart to start coming out, my rigidity to start to melt, you know, and to start to see, you know, I met some beautiful music people. I met some people that had some good ways to eat. I met some people that were wildcrafting food and things like that. I saw some nice relationships, even some beautiful people that made babies. You know, they were really happy to, you know, be alive and to do what they were doing and to teach their children how to be wild and, you know, not part of this crazy society. And, you know, and as I said, I met Vlad, and, you know, he was a beautiful man in his way, and he taught me lots. And, you know, I saw my first grizzly bear with him. They're huge. These guys are crazy. Those bears are crazy. You know, this was at Y2K time. I still remember, I guess it was 1999, before the year 2000. Yep. And he took me, it's a story I don't share with too many people. He thought the world was ending too at the time, Vlad. And so he took me up to this wild land that was up in BC there, behind a waterfall. I still remember and there was an open cave, and he had, you know, 20 years worth of food hidden in this cave, nitrogen fixed barrels of seeds and grains and generators and winter. I wonder if it's still there. I haven't been back in, you know, 25 years. In winter coat. Because if you ever need anything, Lorenzo, the world ever ends, here's where you can come.
Wow. Cave
Yeah.
behind waterfall. That's cool. You should go check that out.
Yeah, yeah, and I still remember it was hidden behind the waterfall. I'm going, wow, this is cool. So and so these were some beautiful experiences I had by having to realize I was wrong. I didn't know anything. I'm still learning. So this is what I hope to pass along to people. Going back to answer your question, the wonder of being alive, the potential of being alive, the beauty of what you can and can't do. But there's always, always, always that hard part. You really have to be ruthless with yourself, right?
Mm.
And just to see how, even if you're not treating the world bad, see how you've treated yourself poorly, to see how you've limited your own imagination, to see where you have picked, like you said, to see where you've picked up those crazy belief systems and they're still running as a subconscious program. And this is what we're going to share with people. Like, why are they taking the course? We want to ask them that. Why are you here? What have you gotten from our videos? Why did you? Because, it's a huge commitment for people, right? Not only the cost of the course, they have to travel. There's a lot of them, most of them are renting hotel rooms, so there's the time away. So they've made a huge commitment to come see us. So I am intending to give them back value for what they're investing in their time with us. That's what I hope to offer them with this course.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Like the way I look at it is, I mean, you can look at the world as bad or good, but yeah, like you are here living it, right? That's all that we really know is that we're experiencing something. So why not have fun? Like why, if you're going to be here anyway, why not have fun? Like,
Yeah.
whatever the end result is, we don't know all the answers, but we do always have a choice. So you always have a choice. So why not, see the world as good? I don't get it. Like from a young age, like pessimistic people, I'm like, well, yeah. So like, yeah, it's all a choice. We see these kids in Ethiopia with nothing, and they're happy and dancing around. Then we see these people in mansions, and they're crying. So it's a very strange world that we find ourselves in. All right. So the last question I've got here is, Lorenzo, what is your vision for the future?
It's funny that I've come full circle in realizing and trying to serve people or to chase money to be happy, because that still sticks with me because my parents beat that into me. And even recently, 6 months ago, I realized, wait a minute, I'm still chasing money to be happy. Like I want to live a happy life. I want to have some land. I want to do some, growing, gardening, be financially secure and enjoy my time with my wife. She's been very good to me over the last 10 years. We've been together 12 years. I'd like to give that back. And, I found I was doing the same perpetual habits as when I was younger, realizing I had to have money to be happy, right? And like first I need to get my bank account to this level and then we'll go buy our land. Or first I need to pay this bill and then we'll go invest in new shoes, whatever, I'm paraphrasing. But what I've realized is, go directly for what you would love. Right. Go directly, see where you've been an inspiration to me because, you've got your dome and your land and you've shared the stories with people and there was no money involved, lots of effort, lots of time and you're putting in, daily, requirements for what you need to do to be there. But it really didn't have anything directly to do with getting your bank account big first and then going there. Like not at all even, right? It had to do with you making a choice and then taking the hard road because I saw you live in a tent, your generator cuts in and out, your internet is what it is, it's been cool, but you're putting up with the hard realities of the choices you've made so that you can see your dreams become real. So for me, that is kind of what I see. That's exactly what I see. I mean, whether I keep doing these videos, whether I share these courses, I'm not investing in the future going a certain way anymore. Right. I want to make sure I'm okay. I'm loving. I'm having a good time with my friends, my new friends, my old friends, my family, and to become the best man that I can be and just to share that. That's really because that's really all I can do. Right. I don't know about anything else anymore. So, if I find a good place to live, that's great. If I'm happy, that's good. I eat good food. That's good. As you've said, I've had no money in my pocket when I was on the mountain that time and I had some of the best times of my life. Right, eating some nuts and hoping I could buy an ice cream. I still remember at the time, counting my change and going, wow, can I afford an ice cream today? Whereas I've sat with, and I still remember a friend of mine when I was a stockbroker, we had lots of money. We just had a huge meal and there were some girls and lots of alcohol at the time when I was 28. And he turned to me and it still stuck with me. He said, Lorenzo, this isn't enough. right? This, because some of you says, I had a house and I had a motorcycle and I had a car and and lots of girls around. Like I said, there was a big party that day, very full from the fancy whatever food we ate. And he said, at the time I went, what are you talking about? It's like, what do you like? This is great. And then, that sat with me to say, having all of these things isn't enough. You have to find some sort of peace in your heart. You have to find some sort of peace in your imagination. You have to really see. Like even today, I went walking. The sun was up, it was reflecting off the clouds. The moon was still kind of hanging there. I had some beautiful birds, and I'm going, "This is life, right? This is it. I don't need anything, right? I'm not, trying to put some money together at this moment. I'm not trying to, get a fancy car or fancy clothes. I'm just walking in the world's singing to me. The birds are being nice. I heard some interesting insects that were playing playing a sound I've never heard before this morning. So for me, that was. So to live in wonder, to live in awe, to see what's going on, to become free of anything that's stopping me from being free, to share that with people. I'd like to, whether it's a book or a song or some poetry, or you and I do 100 courses together and it helps people, throughout the world. It doesn't really matter as long as my heart is happy and I get to share that with other people.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that some people can have everything that someone else's wants and they're not happy, but that other person thinks that that's everything. And once they get there, and that's a big question is, all these people that aren't happy, like they never know what will make them happy, do they? They've never defined where they're going, what they want, and so they never can get there because they don't know where that is. So it never is enough. And we see this play out a lot, obviously in the Hollywood types and big business. You see that people going up and all these debaucherous lifestyles because it's never enough because they don't know what enough is. They don't know what they're searching for. So I guess that's definitely something we're going to be touching on is getting people to define what they want, what is their mission in life, why are they here, and how they can. And this is a big one. How are they going to get there? You do need an action plan. It's not, and we've said this a lot. It's not enough to sit in the lotus position on a cushion and say all the money is coming to me and all the love because nothing happens. This is a physical world and we need to get out there and move our energy right in the right direction to start that flow. So that's another big thing we're going to be looking at Florida is what do you want? What's your legacy going to be? What's your vision of the future? What's your vision for you? Because a big thing I've learned recently is what we don't do, what we don't achieve dream-wise as people, this is for the parents. If we've got children, your children end up doing that for you, right? They end up literally trying to live those dreams out. And so, everything we do, it's not just affecting us. If you've got kids, you're directly affecting them. So it's up to you to live your dreams, to get out there and do something and be more and show them it's possible and not leave them with dreams rather than unfulfilled things, so
it's really important. It's interesting you said that because my mother always wanted to be free and she never got to be free, and I'm living the dream of being free. It's very interesting that way. And so that's why I've disagreed with some people. She had a horrible life. I was psychologically abused with some bad ideas, but because of all of that, I'm here working to be free, and I've always wanted to have positive feedback from an optimist, and then you and I become friends, right? And you're the biggest you're even more of an optimist than I am, and I thought I was a huge optimist, right? But I'm watching how that's working for you, right? Some people go, it's not good to be an optimist, and I'm looking at you, I'm going, Campbell is working his way through things, and he's doing all right, and a lot of people like him and want to emulate what he's doing. So I'm picking up a lot from watching you. I've seen how, I have another friend who seems to be a pessimist, like not enough, but I need that too, right? Or else I get full of myself. So it's a good balance, right? And also, if there's one thing I want to leave people in this video, what you think is real, right? It's like, how do you know? How do you know anything you see on TV is real? How do you know anything in the media is real? How do you know anything? Like, unless it's your direct experience, right? Unless it's your direct interaction with somebody, and blame is the lamest thing in the world too. I've seen too much of that, and I've been there too, blaming anybody for
Yeah.
anything. Boy, that's cement shoes throwing you in the East New Jersey River like the mafia used to do, because that'll kill you faster than, than a poisoned ham sandwich.
Yeah.
It's,
You need to get taught, when you point at someone, there's three fingers pointing back at you, but people, and that's the thing. I used to actually think about these sayings when I was young, because I didn't get brought up in a formal religion, so there was no sort of ethical training, formally. And so I used to think about these things, but then I realized no one else did. They just run around saying these things. Parents, when they, blah, 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 and then they just go off and do something exactly opposite. So it's fun. It's a funny old world. People are funny. With I think what I want to put out as well is we want to let people know or get them to think about why they are doing what they're doing. Like, why are you doing it? You got to do something, sure, but why are you doing what are you doing? Like, is it getting you where you want to go? Is it achieving anything? Because again, we don't want to be in that bed, on our deathbed going, if only.
and one thing I want to leave people with is, I'm changing the name right now underneath my picture here to the new now, is what is the new now? All right. What is your new now? And if you look at those two words, it's new and it's now. Right? And everyone has an old then, and that's your beliefs, that's your system, that's what you've thought about. Campbell and I have done detoxing the new age, and it's all your fault. And we just did a live recall reality. And it's all about figuring out what was old for you so you can make your now new. And no one can make your now new but you. And that's the present, which is a present, as they say. I still like that. That's your life. You are why you're alive. That's it. There's no other reason to be alive. If you want to make 100 babies, go ahead. If you want to live by yourself in a hut on a mountain and eat beans the rest of your life, go ahead. If you want to, put on a loincloth and go hunting wild boar, and that's what you want to survive on, go ahead. Really, it's your life. You have this one and one only. To make it new, you have to see how you're stopping yourself from becoming new, and blaming anybody for that, whether you're married, whether you have children, whether you have parents, whether you have siblings, whether you have a job, whether you have a boss, whether you're your own boss, whether you owe money. I found you can leave it all behind if you're willing to take the hard experience that comes with separating. We've all had separations from spouses and things like that. I had some bad breakups for some, girlfriends a long time ago until I met my current wife. I've left jobs. I've had fights with friends. I've had money and I've had no money. I've had health and I've had no health. I blamed as well. And really, if you're sitting there in the morning by yourself and you look around, there's nobody there but you. Just you and your crazy thoughts, if that's what you're having. And from there, you can stand up and, if you're not healthy, you know what to do next, right? If you need to leave a relationship or start a relationship, you know what to do next. If you need to move or not move or go plant a garden, you know what to do next. And anything that stops you is really what Campbell and I'm hoping to share, because I'm going to go back to what you said in this event we're doing, is to allow people to figure out for themselves how they can make their now new as they would like to see it, and to share that as they see fit with the rest of the world, whether it's an insect watching them from a branch or an extended family with 72 grandchildren. Really, it's up to them, and, to become the best that you can be so that you can move. To me, that's the best legacy, right? Because that will vibrate out. Loving feeling will go forward. You'll affect people you don't even know who you're affecting. Like, I met a man on the streets here whose wife died suddenly 8 months ago. I don't even speak Japanese so well. He walked up to me and said, "Is it okay I talk to you?" They're very polite here, because I was with my wife at the time. And we've kind of become friends. He's even started watching our videos and translating them for himself into Japanese. Because he said to me, "I walk a lot because I'm sad. I walk a lot because, he's probably of an age. I think he's in his 50s, I would guess, of us right now. His wife died suddenly. And he just needed, he says, I saw the look in your eye, Lorenzo, and I saw you were a loving man, in his paraphrasing in Japanese. And I just needed to have that experience to see that, I can reignite the love of my life, and I can be happy, and I can become a person that's not sad all the time." And how did I meet this guy? I have no idea, but by being who I am and just walking around and just going through the challenges, Campbell freezing in the middle of this. It's very interesting. I got to share with him a little bit of love, and his heart seems better because of it. So to me, that's the best thing you can offer anybody.
Yeah, I think that is. I think that's the way we change the world, right? We just be the change we want to see. So there we go, guys. We've mentioned that we're going to be in Florida. So this is, if you like this content and the kind of things we're talking about, you'll find the links below. If you've got any questions, there's an email address as well. But we're basically going to be going through, why are we like we are? Why are we holding ourselves back? What is that point? Let's get rid of it. Let's start acting differently. And where do we want to go? What's our vision? And let's just get out there and do it, right?
Yep.
Right. No more time wasting. I mean, for the last couple of years hasn't woken us up to the fact that, change is fast and we need to do something because, it's so unpredictable at the moment, then I'm not sure what will. So if you're feeling like you want a bit of change or like you're stuck, like there's something in there that you just can't get over. And a lot of us, a lot of people into the, self-help, they follow it for years and years and years, but they never quite make that breakthrough. Why is that? Well, we're going to be definitely looking at these things, clearing them, letting you know that you're the problem. But the good news is that means you can fix it. You can fix it, and then you can do whatever you want.
Yep.
But it is all your fault.
It is. Yeah. Well, I'll leave my email below. This will go up, I guess, on Campbell's channel. I'll put it together soon and get it to you very soon, my friend Campbell. I appreciate the interview. It didn't go anything like what I expected. I had a whole bunch of notes. I didn't use 90% of them. I think that's just the way the world goes. You prepare, and then you make a plan, throw the plan over your shoulder. What was the oldest war thing they said? Like, a plan of war lasts as long as till you meet the enemy, and then everything falls apart. I think life's that way too. Make a plan, makes everyone feel better in your life. You go, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and don't hold on to it then. Take the plan, go, that's a good plan. Throw it away, then see what the world tells you. It's always going to be new. You're lucky if it's new, right? You're lucky if you didn't expect what was going to be happening. I could have sit there and go, oh my goodness, Campbell didn't ask any of the questions I prepared for. I'm going, oh my goodness, he's asking me other questions. It's making me consider things that I didn't consider. And this is amazing, right? So, all you can do is be strong, be energetic, and be ready. And I appreciate the interview, Campbell.
Great. Well, thank you for letting us know a bit more about Lorenzo. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And obviously, thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing this content. And check out our links below, and we'll talk to you on the next upload.
Yeah, I'll leave our email. You want to join our event? It's coming up soon. Let me know as soon as you can, and I'm happy to help you get there. Awesome. Love you all very much. Thanks for being here.
Campbell and Lorenzo here, and we just want to have a bit of a talk about our Florida event. You'll find all the links below. We are both going to be in Florida in October and running a 3-day event, and we just want to let you know what that is about. So, Lorenzo, what are we doing?
October 6th, 7th, and 8th, 9 to 5, 4 sections each day, 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours at night, an hour for lunch, an hour for Q&A at the end. Lunch is included. Healthy lunch, I must say. We're going to break it up into 3 fun-filled days. That's not something that Campbell and I haven't shared enough. This is going to be fun. We're going to talk on the first day how you became who you are, where you are right now, perhaps what your future can be. 4 beautiful, wonderful topics that have helped me quite a bit and helped Campbell and probably can help everyone. Intuition, imagination, discipline, and power. Each section delineated. We're going to talk some oration. We're going to discuss, because we're very interested in your story, why you're there. There'll be some Q&A, and we'll have some practical activities and actions that will help us all to understand ourselves, each other, and the potential for growing and moving forward.
Yep, indeed. So each day will be broken up. The first day, we're going to be looking at your past. We know that 80% of who we are now is formed before we're 8. And a lot of this is through misinterpretation. But these belief systems are controlling us now. And they are the blockages to why we're not living the life we want to live. So day 1 will be pinpointing why did you become who you are. And day 2, Lorenzo, will be who are you?
We're gonna be looking at who you are, a bit of why you are where you are, why you came to the event, what's going on inside you, all of the lovely, horrible, and beautiful things we all have as beings that have been alive on this planet for as long as we've been here, to give us a good understanding of ourselves. Because without knowing where you are, you can't really know where to go. Right. So you can understand on the first day how you became who you are. And then on the second day, we're going to look at who you are. And again, this is all going to be underlined by a lot of fun, by your intuition, because we're looking at clearing your intuition on the first day so you can understand what's going on with your guts, with your heart, with more than just your thoughts, but everything that you grew to love as a child and maybe you grew to discard when you got older, so that we can look to integrate, who you were, let's say the child, with who you are, the man or woman you've become, so that we can get ready for the third day with the transformation of who you may like to come, the butterfly, the chrysalis, you know, put that all together with your imagination, discipline, and power to take away some potential for future movements in a way that you would love to see your life grow, which is the intent of our event. That's why we're calling it Practical Evolution for Life. We would like to leave everyone with some practical ways that they can evolve their life in how they would love to grow.
Indeed. Who is it you want to be? What do you want to do? What legacy do you want to leave? We're going to be getting into vision statements, personal power statements, and legacy statements. You know, we're all here for a reason. You are here for a reason. You have something to do. You know it. So we're going to pull that out and get it down and get a statement so we can start moving forward. So practical evolution. We're going to start at the beginning. Who are you? Why are you that way? How are you living? How are these thoughts restricting you? How to get rid of them, and then how to walk into that life that you want to be. So it is a practical event. There will definitely be practical activities. There'll be fun. There'll be Q&A, a few tears, no doubt. But at the end, lots of happy people who have direction, know where they're going, and know how to get there.
Yeah, so bring a friend, bring a family member, bring a spouse, bring a sibling, if that's what you would like to do. There's already some people that are coming that are related. You know, some parents are coming, some children are coming, adult children, some other lovely people that have already been in touch with us that are looking forward to, let's say, I would say a legacy. If you want to look at it the way I feel a legacy could be, it's not leaving a whole bunch of money to someone or leaving a big house. It's more of an energetic legacy. If we're immortal, and I think we are, and we go on forever, even when the immortal coil is gone, maybe you make a vibration, an echo that can go out into infinity. So if you're making a horrible, you know, echo, you know, who wants as their legacy? Nobody that I can imagine. But if you leave something beautiful, be the change. For things to change, you have to change, as Campbell likes saying, you know, be the change. Everyone knows that one. So by becoming a higher vibrational, when we discuss discipline and power being, you can affect people in a beautiful, wonderful way, simply by becoming beautiful, wonderful, and loving.
So held in beautiful, warm Florida on a beautiful piece of land, surrounded by nature. So come and join us. There are limited tickets. It is because the venue is only so big. You'll find all the links below, and we would love to see you there for a life-changing 3 days.
Yep. My email will be below as well if anyone has any questions, suggestions, or wants to join us. And early bird pricing, bring a friend all the way to the end. So for 2 people, bring 2 or more, and early bird pricing for the tickets will be applied. We're so happy to see you there. I love you all very much. I can't express enough how delighted I am and how privileged I feel to be able to do this with Campbell and you in this lovely land that we get to share together.
Awesome. We'll see you in Florida, guys.
Stepping it up, taking a chance.